What killed the people who opened King Tut's tomb? The world is filled with unanswered questions, unknowns from the past, the present, and the future. And today we're going to talk about Tutankhamun's mystery. There is a lot of opinion and fiction in the story of Tutankhamun's curse. If there is a curse, what is it? So what exactly is the curse? How had it affected people who dared to go near it? Let's find out. Around the year 1332 BC, a young man named Tutankhamun ascended to the throne of Egypt at the age of 10 and established his rule. The discovery of King Tut's tomb in 1922, which was stuffed to the edge with gold and treasure, pushed him to popularity and made him potentially universal emblem of ancient Egypt. DNA tests on Tut's family tree are still being conducted today. However, once the tomb was open, the archaeologists had no idea what was waiting for them. So what is the curse of Tut's tomb? After marrying his half-sister Tutankhamun, Tutankhamun had no children. As a result, the succession was severely disrupted. Many experts have speculated on the cause of Tutankhamun's untimely demise, from a chariot accident and murder by a blow to the head to a hippopotamus attack. Unfortunately, we don't have the answer yet. The entrance of the tomb of King Tutankhamun was first spotted by a team of archaeologists led by British archaeologist Howard Carter on November 4, 1922. After more than 3,000 years of repose, King Tut's tomb was discovered on November 26, 1922. Many people thought that the pharaoh had put out a huge curse that would kill and destroy anyone who tried to wake him up from his eternal sleep. The supposed curse of the pharaohs became an increasingly widespread urban legend and media phenomenon. The following people might convince you of the existence of such a thing. George Herbert, 5th Earl of Carnarvon. The alleged curse's first victim was the man who provided funding for the discovery of King Tut's tomb. Lord Carnarvon died from blood poisoning after accidentally tearing open a mosquito bite while shaving. This happened several months after the tomb was uncovered, and only 6 weeks after the media began reporting on the mummy's curse, which was believed to strike everyone who had anything to do with disturbing the mummy. When Lord Carnarvon passed away, the lights in his home mysteriously turned out, or, according to several versions of the story, all of Cairo's electricity was out. Some speculate that the elements Tutankhamun's priests created to protect the royal tomb too were responsible for Carnarvon's demise. Sir Bruce Ingham. The tomb's discoverer, archaeologist Howard Carter, presented his friend Bruce Ingham with a paperweight as a token of his appreciation. He wasn't there during the opening, and he wasn't actively involved in the search. The paperweight symbolically made up of mummified hand with a bracelet reportedly inscribed with the words, "Cursed be he who moves my body." Although Ingham's home was destroyed in a fire shortly after he accepted the mummy's gift, he survived the curse. He attempted to rebuild the house, but a flood destroyed everything. George J. Gould. After visiting Tutankhamun's tomb in 1923, American investor and railroad entrepreneur Gould became ill almost immediately. He was only partially cured, and a few months later he passed away from pneumonia. Aubrey Herbert. It's supposed that only by being linked to King Tut, Lord Carnarvon's half-brother was cursed. Later in life, Aubrey Herbert became completely blind due to a degenerative eye problem he had been born with. Herbert lost his sight and had all his teeth extracted after a specialist told him his disease and decaying teeth were causing problems with his eyes. But the procedure didn't work. However, he did pass away from sepsis brought on by the operation just 5 months after the death of his cursed sibling. Hugh Evelyn White. Some of Carter's team members, like Richard Bethel and Lord Carnarvon, were said to have been affected by King Tut's curse. Britain's Evelyn White, an archaeologist, may have aided in the discovery of King Tut's tomb. In 1924, Evelyn White took his own life after seeing the deaths of roughly a dozen of his fellow excavators. Before he did, however, he supposedly wrote in his blood, "I have succumbed to a curse which forces me to disappear." Now that is something to think about. Dr. Aaron Ember. Lord Carnarvon was a friend of American Egyptologist Aaron Ember, and Ember knew many of the other people present at the opening of the tomb. Shortly after Ember and his wife threw a dinner party in their Baltimore home in 1926, the building burned down. He could have escaped unharmed, but his wife urged him to stay and protect the book he was working on while she went to get their son. Unfortunately, the disaster claimed their lives along with the lives of the family's maid. And this is the interesting part. What's the title of that book by Ember? The Egyptian Book of the Dead. Captain Richard Bethel. Following Carter into the tomb was Lord Carnarvon's secretary, Bethel. His death in 1929 was surrounded by mystery, and at least one contemporary historian believes the magician Aleister Crowley was responsible. The body of Bethel was discovered suffocated in his room at a posh London club. The Nottingham Evening Post reported not long after the allegation that the Han, Richard Bethel, had come under the curse was raised last year when there were a series of mysterious fires at his home where some of his priceless items from Tutankhamun's tomb were held. However, there was not found to be any proof linking any of the objects to Bethel's death. Sir Archibald Douglas Reed. Sir Archibald Douglas Reed x-rayed the mummy before donating it to the museum. That's the only link he has to the Child King and the curse. Sir Archibald Douglas Reed was a pioneer and well-regarded expert in the field of X-ray technology. It turns out that the curse doesn't just affect the expedition's financiers and excavators. The radiologist who X-rayed Tut's mummy became unwell the day afterward and died 3 days later of an unknown ailment. Edgar Steele. The British Museum in London had an employee named Edgar Steele, who was in charge of the tomb treasures. Mr. Steele passed away at St. Thomas Hospital only 4 days after Lord Westbury's passing, from complications following a very simple stomach procedure. His condition, according to the physicians, wasn't significant and the operation went well and was expected to have a high success rate. As we can see, however, the odds were again placed against anyone with ties to King Tut's tomb. James Henry Breasted. The crew who opened King Tut's tomb included Breasted, another well-known Egyptologist of the day. Upon his subsequent return home, he discovered that his pet canary had been eaten by a cobra, which was still squatting in the bird's cage. There was a cause for concern given that the cobra was a symbol of the Egyptian throne and a pattern worn by pharaohs on their headdresses for good luck and protection. Although Breasted did not pass away until 1935, his passing occurred shortly after he returned from a trip to Egypt. Howard Carter. Neither Carter nor his home were ever struck by lightning or caught fire for no apparent reason. In his 64th year, he succumbed to lymphoma. Even on his tombstone, he has wished a long and happy life with the words, "May your spirit live. May you spend millions of years. You who adore Thebes, sitting with your face to the north breeze, your eyes beholding bliss." Maybe the pharaohs decided he didn't deserve to suffer the full force of the curse. So the deaths were really due to the curse. According to a 2002 study published by the British Medical Journal, 44 Westerners whom Carter had identified as being in Egypt at the time of the tomb's examination all survived. As for native Egyptians, they supposedly weren't affected by the curse. 25 participants who witnessed the opening or examination of the tomb were compared to the other participants who did not participate in the study to see which group had significantly higher average age of death. The study found no evidence that people who were exposed to the mummy's curse were more likely to die within 10 years. It's also found no link between the risk of exposure and the chance of dying. Scientific explanation seekers have speculated that Carnarvon's death might have been caused by chemicals in Tut's tomb. Although it has been established that some ancient mummies contain potentially harmful species of mold, and the tomb walls may have been covered in bacteria known to attack the respiratory system, this theory is widely rejected by scientists. They claim that Carnarvon's health problems started long before he visited Tut's tomb, and the toxins wouldn't have killed him until months after his initial exposure. Did these bizarre deaths happen due to the pharaoh's curse, or did all this happen by coincidence? What are your thoughts? This ends the video for today. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel to see more interesting videos like these. See you next time.